Hi everybody, welcome back to Sprueverse, my scale model universe. It's great to have you back with us on part 2 of Build the Aries 1B from Moebius Models. This is a 1/48 scale model of the Shuttle from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Now this kit was supposed to come out last year, and it didn't for all kinds of reasons, and now we have it, and everybody is feverishly on the bench building this kit. And I usually don't do this. I sort of let everybody do the builds, and then I like to take a look at everybody and then maybe build it later. But I thought, no, why not? I might as well dive in the fray and see what what I could offer or not. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please like and subscribe. That means an awful lot to me. And you can follow me on Instagram too. I post there daily, sort of minutiae, in the weeds kind of detail moments of what my daily sort of progress is. And then once a week I'm here on the bench most of the time. So here we are in part 2. And I've been doing a lot of sort of prepping, pre-building, because in this world of this build, you're having to do sort of 4 of some things and 8 of other things, but it's mostly 4. And so we talked about the armatures. We have 4 of those in the previous episode, and we talked about the lower landing gear, and we have 4 of those. And then you have your plate, which I have just a little bit of seam work I'm going to be doing on that. You'll see that in just a minute. I'll actually bring it in here in just a minute. But I do want to say again, this is one of those models where you got to really read the instructions, and there was a couple of things where you got to make sure that you're really paying attention to what should be glued and what shouldn't, because they've gone to an awful lot of trouble in the design of this kit to really work on the landing gears and the legs themselves. So they collapse inside this ship. And so all the engineering of that is geared around making sure that you've got all these moving parts, of which this is the lower landing gear main assembly, which is only held on, by the way, with this little cap here, of which I thought, wow, really? And it is a little loose, but this is one of those things where I don't intend to play with it as a toy. So once it's in its landing position, I think that's where it's going to stay for me. Now, frustratingly, 80% of this build is all in the engine compartment here. It's all here, and and all of that is sort of underneath. Now, it does beg the question: how do you want to display this? Do you want to display this as if it's in flight, or do you want to display it as if it's landing? Now, I have watched the landing scene where the Aries comes into Clavius. I've watched it like 30-40 times, if not more, to really kind of take a hard look at it. And there's one glaring thing that just blasts at you, and that is that these are, first of all, they're all black, soot black, and there's absolutely no effect on them at all. There's no element at all that suggests they're on or firing. Nothing at all. The only hint you get that this thing is landing is, they must have used compressed air, is when this kit comes, when this model, when the Aries comes into land at Clavius base, the moon dust is kicked up by probably compressed air. But that is the only time that you actually see this thing sort of suggest that it's got power, which I thought was curious. Now, in this kit, they do give you your engine pieces, which is those cups. You see those sort of honeycombed cups in the middle of your engine bell. They give you those in clear. And the great thing about that is in the actual caps themselves and the thruster as well, you can see that they have set this up to put LEDs in, so to light it. So bravo to that, to Moebius for doing that. But I'm going, well, I don't know. I just don't know if it makes sense for me. If I'm going to put this, and I think I will, I'm going to scratch build the Clavius landing platform and light that and get some light going up into the bottom of the ship. I think that'll be fun. So the passenger compartment I will light, which will be in a warm white, possibly amber, I don't know. But for sure, the cockpit will be in red because in classic Kubrick fashion, and as it approaches Clavius, it is patently obvious that the passenger compartment is lit in a white sort of ambient light, but the cockpit itself is red. However, there are some control surfaces. We do get some decals, so I'm going to see if it's worth putting any blinkies or anything in there that maybe you'll see, through the windows. If you look in, you might see that the cockpit is actually alive. So I'm definitely considering that. But I wanted to dive in right away because I haven't primed anything yet. I've just been sort of doing all these pre-assemblies and cleaning everything up. That's taken me a couple of hours, but now I'm ready to actually tackle priming everything. But I wanted to talk about these engine bells. Now, there's 4 of them that you build. And let me get that in close up for you. Get closer to it. There's 4 of these, and they've got some greeblies that you have to attach. There's a few pieces here and here and here, and then there are these there's these tanks, and they have got just a little bit of seamage here, which I'm working on. There's a little step on the pour process, so when they were sort of melted together in the mold, they left a little bit of a step. So we're filing those down and cleaning that up. And then there are these attachments here, which actually connect to these outside buttons here. And these buttons, if my fat finger doesn't hide them, actually slide. And what they do is, and there's 4 of those, and they lock in these bells to these adjoining connectors here. Now, these connectors slide in to an opening. Well, it'd be helpful if I showed you right here. They connect. There's a tab that they slide into. And then they create this sort of surface, and I've got these all sort of tight and squared up at the moment, but I haven't glued them because what I intend to do is prime them and get a coat of paint on them before I attach everything. Reason being, obviously, this is going to be the easiest time to get paint into these nooks and crannies. Now, even though a lot of this you won't see, to do this properly, let's prep the model, let's clean the model, let's remove all that flashing, and let's get a coat of paint on everything so that we can feel good about the fact that we've done everything we can to make the best model we can make. At least that's the plan. So I'm going to go with the Tamiya Insignia White in the rattle cans. I have a lot of good luck with that. Now, there is a Vallejo version of Insignia White, which I will also use, but I'll use that for shading later. There's 4 or 5 different whites that I actually I've used not only on my Eagle 2, my 22-inch, but also I've also used them to quite effect on the EVA pod. Even though the EVA pod on film looks pure white, it's nice to give it for the eye some shading and that sort of a thing. So I'm going to prime these and I'm going to get a coat of insignia white on everything that I have, which includes my landing gears, top and bottom, my actuator boxes that are here. There are 8 of those. And so just everything's going to get primed and sort of painted before we start really doing final assembly. Now, these tabs then I know will be perfectly clean. And so when I go to actually put everything together, there'll be 2 things that I'll be doing. One is I will be attaching these. Let me get you closer. I will be attaching these armatures to these into these holes, and they have to be allowed to freely move because they're going to allow your landing legs to drop into these wells. And then, of course, everything then gets dropped on like so, sort of like so-ish. And then we, like this, and then we sort of just start building this up. And then ultimately, once we've got this built up to that section and we continue on, you'll notice that it's all about building up the engine compartments, which of course is this thing of beauty right here. So as we continue to build it up, at this point, we're going to have to start thinking about if you were going to light it, you better have already started to figure out how you're going to run your wires. Now, newsflash for me, I am not going to light those lights. I've decided not to, the thrusters, the engines. I'm not going to, because in the film they're not lit. So I'm not going to do it. I am going to concentrate on the actual the actual compartment for the passengers. My head went to Hawaii for a second, but I'm back now. And then, of course, the cockpit, which is in a red light, is a red glow. In the film, as it's approaching Clavius, it's in red. The passenger compartment is a warm glow, sort of like a cool white. And so that's where I'll concentrate. And perhaps when we get to that, when we get to here, we'll talk a little bit about color, because there is a little bit of a sort of an ochre yellow for the chairs and the cushioned walls, and then of course some detail painting for this area, because we've got a couple of decals that we can put on here, and we can actually light these TVs, and so that might be fun. And I've got a couple of transparencies that might work for that, so that might be fun, because the upper dome here is not going to be glued down. You'll be able to lift this up and look inside. At least that's the plan. But we're not going to be able to see very much inside this cockpit. However, I think there are some opportunities perhaps to get some blinkies in there just to show that it's alive and kicking. But when we get to that part, we'll sort of dive into that in a lot more detail than I'm discussing right now, because what was most important for me to sort of really talk about is the fact that we're really into the guts of this model here, and getting all of this lined up so that everything works correctly is what they're really asking you to do, as well as you've got to pre-paint everything, and you know, there'll be some opportunities to do some weathering along the way and do some of those things, and then we'll start gluing parts together at the end, because this is not one of those kits where you can get away with you know, painting it in bigger sub-assemblies than this. There's a lot of detail work to go here, so I think it's worth taking the time. But I think the net result's going to be amazing. Now, I am going to do a pilgrimage over to the Motion Picture Academy Museum, where the actual filming miniature lives now. It was bought, I believe, in 15 or 16 at an auction by the Motion Picture Academy for $344,000, if you can believe it. But that's where it belongs, and so I'm thrilled it's there. I'm going to make a pilgrimage over there, hopefully early next week or later this week. And if I can film that, I'm certainly going to take a bunch of pictures for reference, but if I can film it, we'll run that footage. I don't know if we're going to run it in this episode or in the next episode, which is most likely going to be the final episode on this sort of 3-week build. At least that's what I think it's going to be. But it could extend a little longer depending on my scratch building efforts for my actual presentation. I think I'm going to have it parked on the Clavius landing pad. That's I think how I'm going to display it. So that's where we are. I'm going to now get a coat of primer on everything and a base coat of my Tamiya Insignia White to get this going. So let's get that done and come back as we sort of progress on building up the engines for this kit. Great fun. Okay, so an awful lot of this build is prepping a lot of small pieces, a lot of parts, and it's a soothing process for me. I can't explain why, but sometimes, you know, you sit at the bench, you've got 1,000 parts, and I've put them all in these individual cups here. I've taken them all off of the trees because when I know I've got to create a sort of a factory line of things, I prefer to have pots of parts because I don't need to know where they go, and I'm just sort of going through the motions of actually cleaning them up. So it's a great time to listen to a good podcast or just go with your inner thoughts. It's very zen. So after cleaning up an awful lot of parts and working, I've been basically concentrating on what is 80% of this build, guys. It's the engine compartment. So I don't want to do. I hope this is not a spoiler for some of you who have the kit who haven't built it yet, because it's going to be beautiful when it's finished. I mean, you know, the filming miniature is, you know, I'm really excited to be able to show that to you, either on at the end of this this video or perhaps in the next video. But because I'm going to do a pilgrimage down to the Motion Picture Museum in LA, and they have it on display there, so I'm going to go check it out, and that'll be very helpful. But basically, you know, they have you sort of working on the landing gears, and you know, here they are. So you've got several parts to the landing gear. Each one has these 2 elements. And then additionally, there are armatures and there are feet, because what you have to do is, once you start sort of building this up, you're going to have to put your armatures in place before you can move on, and it all has to lock in, and everything has to move freely. So they have given us very nice, you know, very nice armatures, quite well engineered, a little fragile. So one of the cautions that you have, and one of the concerns that they have with you building this model is don't put it on its feet and then put any kind of pressure on it, you'll snap a leg. So you got to be very sort of mindful of that when you're building it up. But as I've said, 80% of this is just the engine. So everything has been primed, cleaned up. All the little greeblies have been put on the engines themselves. And then a light sanding, and then they have had now a good coating of the X20 Tamiya Insignia White in the rattle cans. And I'm a big fan of this color for spaceships. It's got a little of a gray cast to it, yet it has a sort of under the light, you know, it has a very sort of nice white a feel to it. So I really like that. And then the idea is that what you do is you build up your actual engine cones, and then when you've built those up, they slide into here like this, and you get this. You get these really cool cans like this, like that. And obviously there are 4 of those. And so once you get to a certain point, you're going to be doing an awful lot of painting and pre-shading and then painting, because you've got to actually put these in place with your armatures, and it's all got to go in before you can move on. It all has to lock in place. So it forces you into doing as much of your individual painting of parts as you are comfortable doing before you can move on. So that's what's going to happen, and that's what I'm working on now. And then once I have done that, I'm going to and here's this centerpiece that goes in here. And now, curiously, on the filming model, and you don't see it here. Let me show you here. You don't see it here, but here you just see it as this piece, like this. But if I go to this production still, now forgive me, I can't zoom in on this because it's a frozen piece of tape. It's not a picture. But you can see quite clearly in the center of the 4 engine bells, there is a cone. A cone, not this. So, is the thruster inside? Because they don't supply it to us, which is really curious to me. But anyway, that's how that's going to go. And we will press on with that, and then you have your sides. Here they are. There's 4 of these, and you've got your engines, and they will they can only go in one way. They have this locking keying in piece right here, and that drops in to the kit, and then you've got your little directional thrusters that have to be painted, and I'll do that in sort of an aluminum and give them a little bit of a scorched detail as well, because everything, I'm going to go to town on my exterior washes and detailing, because why not? They did. And I love it. So you've got 4 of those, and they are the skirt of this. You've got this wonderful grid here, and if you look on this shot, you can see that grid. There's a chance here to really punch that with some washes and some highlights, and then of course some dusting where the moon dust or other stuff has kicked up and hit it. So there's a lot of fun we're going to do with be able to do with those, and this becomes the skirt, and then the 4 skirt areas allow you to you sit your, I'll show you here, your engine compartment will sit in this groove, and then your passenger cockpit, or lounge I should say, will sit in this groove here, and that then allows you to go up to this level here, and that gets us into the passenger compartment with its 24 chairs, and here they are, So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build these up and get them painted up, and I'll give them some pre-shadowing and some shading and a little wash as well, just to give them some detail, because I do intend to have the dome removable so we can look inside, and then they sit nicely into these. Oh, you don't want to cooperate. There, they sit nicely into these slots here, and away you go. Now, plenty of opportunity to light if you want to. There's these little consoles here. Now, there's no decals for these. They don't give them to you. They only give you, and here are my decals. They give you, and I can be quite confident in telling you what these are. Now, hang on here, because, see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, they do. So these decals here are your decals for these control surfaces, which we might be able to get a light behind. I'm going to take a look at that. You've got your cockpit control surfaces here, and then you've got these cautions, and I thought at first they were exterior. They're not. They're interior, and they actually go in the roof section around the center. But the other opportunity we've got to light this is the floor here, because this floor is white, the sides are black, the tops of the, so I don't lose it, the tops of the stairs are black, but the sides of the stairs are actually white. Now, what I'm thinking is that it might be possible, and I'll show you that on the close-up, it might be possible to shine a light behind it, and you can see we can actually get some light in there. Now we'll obviously paint those, and we'll see if we can actually light them up. I mean, one of the complications is that the stairs run, at least two of the stairs run directly along this seam, and it's a double thickness of plastic, and you can actually see that. So we might have to light block that, and then just put some white on there with not very much opacity. And if we hit something behind it, as long as it's light blocked, we might get away with it. And then the other opportunity is, of course, the television screens. There are 4 of those. Here they are. Here they are. And we are not given any kind of we're not given anything for those television screens. No, we're not given anything. So those screens unfortunately can't have anything in them unless you are clever enough to be able to print something. And I may well reach out to my dear friend Jeff Fink and say, Jeff, come on, make me a make me a television, make me some decals for that. And he will. Well, he'll give me the picture. I'll have to print them, but he will. So I might do that. And that's your television. And we can, this plastic is quite opaque, as you can see. So you hit a light behind it, and you'll definitely get an effect. So that's the other opportunity. And then the final opportunity, well, I should say, besides the fact that your ceiling sconces should be lit, because that's how you're going to get light into the top of the cabin when the lid is on it. So when you look through the windows, you'll be able to see in quite nicely, because the windows on the dome are going to be, they're quite large. I mean, here are here's the top of the dome, And these are the cockpit windows. So they've done as much as they can do to really give you an opportunity to look inside the cockpit. So that's really cool. And then the other windows, which are here, as he gingerly removes them, are here. And you can see each one of these windows is quite large in scale. Now, you could most certainly get yourself some better clear plastic for those windows and get even more of a sort of clarity as you look through them. That's another upgrade you can certainly do. And I'm pretty sure that there'll be some kind of a paragraphics photo etch set that will also eventually come out. So I may decide to build this model again with all the accoutrement, because I do like to see what the differences are. But anyway, the next thing you want to consider if you're going to go, balls to the wall, as they say, or not, is the elevator. Now, this is the elevator that our flight attendants, now in the 60s, they would have been called stewardesses, thanks to Pan Am, but in a less misogynistic world, we call them flight attendants. And they would have brought food and drinks up through this elevator in the film. And in the film, this elevator is open. Here it is closed because they did not deem to give us anything on the inside of this. They sort of just said enough is enough. But I think you can cut this elevator door open, and you can actually put a little false floor in it and some ribbing on the sides so that you can look in here. Because I think you might be able to see this through a window, and I'll triple check that. But if you do, I may go ahead and do that and get a light in here, because that would be fun to see that elevator at least half open, so you can see something in there. But that's another opportunity for you to play with this kit if you so desire. Again, it's full of possibilities, but when you have a limited amount of opportunity to sort of push the detail end, those are things you can think about. And then obviously lighting. I've got to start thinking about how I'm going to get lighting into the ceiling, and perhaps into the consoles on these next to these chairs, if I do that. And then obviously I'm going to go with red lights for the cockpit. I'm not going to have them change from red to light. A lot of skilled guys will do that. I'm not going to, but I will have some blinkies and maybe even some fiber optics inside the cockpit, because you do have quite an area in there to actually play with. And one final thing about this that I wanted to share with you, which I think is quite hilarious, because as you can see from this photo, from this still, I should say, that when this ship comes into land, it comes into land with the cockpit in the up position. You can only look up. You can't look down. So you obviously are relying on internal screens and what have you to look down. And yet, there's several frames in the film where you actually see your pilots looking out the window, and they could actually see down. Now, that is one of those things you gotta forgive. But and it's another problem you have. We had the same problem with Jaws when we were building. My dear friend and I, Wayne, were building the Orca, because you watch that movie 20, 30, 40 times, and you stop listening to the dialogue and watching the acting, and you start looking at the background. And all of a sudden, you start to see all of the various little bloopers and oops-a-doozies that happen when you film make. And that's one of them, and I got a kick out of that, and I thought you might too. But anyway, that's that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start working on pre-shading my dome and my side panels for the engine compartment and my engines themselves. I'll get those pre-shaded, and then I'll get a proper coat of white on them to bring this up, and we'll see how much detail we start to get. And then I'm going to start putting all of the landing gear armatures together. But I've got an awful lot of detail work to go, because you've got all of the surrounding cushions, of which this is one of many. Here it is. And they all have to be painted in that sort of ochre colored yellow. And they're all sort of padded. And then they'll get washes and various different things. And then you've got your console panels that also have to be painted, and they get put together with two sides that will make up the television, the consoles that go around, as well as these things of beauty here, which they refer to as the doors to the toilets. So and they connect to the inside of the stairwells. So lots of small painted areas that have to be primed, cleaned up, primed, and painted, and then all your details that you're going to add, and then you're going to carefully start assembling all of this stuff, and a lot of it, unfortunately, will be painted first, which is okay, but it's just obviously making sure your glue surfaces stay clean. And then after we've done that, we will concentrate on this cockpit and take a look at how we can get some light in that. So I'm going to sort of start to progress and get all of this sort of put away so that we can see what this is going to look like with the all of the landing operation of this model sort of together. And then what we might do then is in the third and final installment is look at lighting and sort of final details and a reveal. So I think it might be sort of 3 episodes to get this thing in the can. But wow, I mean, it's a lot of parts. It's a big kit. It's not a cheap kit, as I've mentioned before, with a lot of small parts, but lots of detail and really well researched. So I'm super happy with it. So let us press on. Okay, I'm going to give you a very quick tour of this world right now, because it looks like absolute chaos. But I think it'd be fun to share with you what's going on the bench. So there's this little tied up there of what I've been working on, the side view, and then the other side view. And it is, I assure you, it looks like complete chaos, but it's not. This kit is hard to kind of get your head around. It is, it's a lot of parts. So if you're going to build this kit, I have one super recommendation for you, because honestly, I just think it's the easiest way to do it. And I know this sounds like I'm being anal retentive, but I'm not. Get yourself some little cups or cans that you can mark, either with a label maker or with a note or whatever. It doesn't matter. Get everything off the trees. I know that sounds crazy, guys, but get everything off those trees, because you're just going to drive yourself crazy with so many different trees that aren't labeled or numbered. It just makes sense. So if you're willing to take a leap of faith with me, get everything off the trees, get it into organized buckets, and remember that you're starting with the engines. And in the build instructions, you're starting from the base and you're coming up to the dome. So Remember that as you start to go through your instruction manual and identify your pieces, and then break them off the trees and place them in buckets according to how you're going to build. Now, the reason why I say that is because you get to a point where it starts to look like or feel like you're a little all over the place, but you're really not. You're having to do an awful lot of priming and painting of smaller parts before you can assemble. And the reason why I say that is because I'm working on the the engine bells now. I'm getting ready to assemble. I have put in my lower, or I should say my upper armatures for the engines right here. But now I'm going to put the upper armatures in, which are these. And as you know, we built 4 of these, and I've painted them. They've all been painted. They've been primed, cleaned, painted with a primer, and then painted with my rattle can Tamiya X20 Insignia White. And they're sort of ready to go. What I like about this Insignia White for this, guys, is it's a really solid, rock-hard paint. It's really good. And so you can hit this with some varnish now and get some washes on it. But what I at least know now is that all the nooks and crannies are actually painted, and nothing is going to drip because I know everything is covered. But now it's just a function of adding your whites and your shadows. And trust me when I tell you, this model is just a world of white with the occasional sort of gray shades on your dome. How can I tell you this with absolute surety? And it's because I've been to the mountain. I had an opportunity this morning to go over to the Motion Picture Academy Museum and just check out the filming miniature. It's the last, we think, remaining miniature. Now, there may be one in private hands that I'm not aware of, but this is the filming miniature. And it was a sight to see. It was great fun. And I'm going to talk about that at the top of the next episode in detail, because there's a lot to unpack from that trip. Primarily because, and I'll give you just a quick taster here, this is a shot I took of the filming miniature. And what I really want you to focus on here is the fact that, oh, sorry, here, let me get this back and see if I can. There you go. I want you to focus on this pipe or bar that's in the center of your picture there. Now, the reason why that's important is because if you look at our engine cowlings or covers, and this is the way it'll sit. So this top piece is actually covered, so you won't see anything. It's the bottom. It's the bottom piece that is not covered by the cowling. So in other words, if you can imagine this, here's your cowling, and it's going to basically look like that. Let me get this closer for you, so you can see what I'm talking about there. See, it's going to kind of look like that ish, if that makes sense. So you're not actually going to see up into this rim, and we're now actually working upside down, even though we're right side up to build this. Trust me, it'll all make sense very soon. But I say all of that because when you take a look at this, which is our kit part all built together, against this part, there it is. I'll do ours, and I'll do the actual filming miniature. Look at that. Boy, are we missing a whole bunch of stuff. Look at all those rivets and details on the tanks. And next to this ribbing right here, it's not even the same. as you can see, it's just not even close. And so you can go around this kit and you can look for another place. Well, it's not anyway. I assure you, this is the correct side, and we're missing a whole bunch of detail, including the fact that they've actually, they've put the piece that you see to the left of the center of the photo, the piping, they've actually put it on the other side of this kit. And, so this is as close as I think we can come to it. Now, if you look on the filming miniature, there's all kinds of gack and interesting stuff. Now, also, if you look, there's a kind of interesting waffle-type material in the center of that box. And what I noticed on the filming miniature is that waffle-type material is actually on the shelves on the exterior of the windows. So I've got some thinking to do, because I do want to do some additional detail work to the exterior of these. I am going to get a little more pipage on these because I think it's worth it. And now that I have got this incredible set of reference pictures, I'm going to go to town a little bit, because I feel a lot more confident with myself about how this thing of beauty is supposed to look and feel. So I'm going to be working on that, and in the next episode, which may or may not be the final episode, I'm not sure, because I've also got to tackle Clevius base platform, which will be its actual base, display base. We'll get into that, but I wanted to update you on a bunch of stuff. I'm ready to actually assemble these. Oh, I thought I was, but I'm going to do a little more work on the pipage before I actually close these up. So I'm so glad I got to do that visit. I have also, thanks to my dear friend, the great Jeff Fink. Jeff, if you're watching, bless you and thank you once again for adding a tremendous amount of talent and skill and just help. And I just can't say it enough. He's such a decent human being and so talented. And here he is with he's supplied me with a plethora of television screen images for my 4 television screens. So these are now on decal paper and have had the several coats of flat varnish over them, so they're good to go. I'm ready to make television sets, and that's exciting. I have also put all the gaskets around my windows, and I've done this without the aid of a Lou Dalmaso masking set, which I know is going to be on the market in the next 3 months. It's just that, I couldn't wait, but I may build this again. I'm not entirely sure, but so I've got those, and those are ready to go. And not the clearest of glass, and if that's the only way you can actually look into this kit, I don't know. I have been pre-shading and pre-shading and pre-shading. Here's the dome. I've got a long way to go on this. I've been adding some grays to this, and so those grays, the white grays, are now ready to actually have some masks put on them. The actual filming miniature does not have a lot of those definition. They're not defined very well. They are broken up, but curiously, it's not as detailed as you would think it is. But obviously, I'm still in the pre-shading stage of this. But the one thing I've learned from reading about the creation of this filming miniature was that Stanley Kubrick originally was shown a dome that was relatively flat with a bunch of add-on from plastic kits, the usual kind of, and he wasn't happy with it. He rejected it. He wanted a much more raised sort of a raised feel of the panels. And curiously, the other thing I would say is, to my dear folks at over at Moebius Models, is you kind of let us down on the decals, guys. This is what we get, okay? This is what we get. And they're okay. They're okay. However, I can tell you, because I've actually seen the filming miniature now, that here, right around this area here, with this nozzle and this I suppose it's a hatch of some kind. Put it back in. This. They have decals. Well, they have lettering. They have lettering that that's very visible. I mean, it's not, it's noticeable. I mean, now curiously, there's nothing on the only access port door other than how you come and go from this, which is a bit of a mystery because all the elevations are up and down, but the only actual access door you see is on this anyway. But so I'm a little disappointed about that. I think they could have done a little more with the decal. So I'm going to find some stuff. I might have some additional stuff that I can add around those for detail, because I think it's worth it. And anyway, I'll look in my decal stash and see what I've got I can come up with. But I definitely want to get some verbiage around those details. I think that's it for this episode. That's an awful lot of material we've covered, but we are getting there. So the next time you see this, we're going to have show and tell. We're going to go through. I found, say hallelujah, because I found this, and starting on page 25. Oh yes, you've got some great information here about the creation of the Aries shuttle. So that's cool. So we'll be going into detail on that, and I'll also be sharing with you all of the detailed images that I got from my outing, which are going to be incredibly helpful. I feel 1,000% more confident now about the paint job and more detail. So we'll get to that in the next session. I thought I was going to be like 3 and done, but I don't know. There's a lot more to tackle here and a lot more to do. But I'm getting there. I'm getting there. It's just an awful lot of work, and I'm sort of enjoying this now that I have context. I think it's going to make it a whole lot more fun for me to build. So please hang in there with me. I promise you, it's going to start to look like something very soon. I promise you. So anyway, until we meet again, I wish all of you be well, be safe, build something, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.